I have to say, I fired up the doc, the outline doc, and you were in there furiously typing in topics just before I opened up the Riverside link. And something about it felt very warm and welcoming because it was like me watching ChatGPT answer me.
But
it just pauses for like a second and then it has 50 paragraphs. Yeah.
That's what it looked like.
It feels good on the hand.
Terry.
GP Terry.
That's what the T stands for. This whole thing's been a long con launched by me to just be in control.
Gary Payton Terry.
That would be the name of our podcast. Come on, Glove, let's do it. Hey, shout out to him. He just got the head coaching job at Alameda College. It's a coaching promotion for him. Maybe that's the pipeline for the Glove taking over.
Wait, what was he at? I thought he was at somewhere.
He was somewhere
At like a community college, wasn't he?
Now he's at it's like a D2, I think.
Yeah, coach of Alameda.
Yeah.
That boy at the college of Alameda is the coach of men's basketball. As of 4 days ago.
Yeah.
Oh well, I was a little busy. The next couple of hours.
A lot of shit happened. A lot of it not good. A lot of it, and a lot of it just you coaching. Dude. I'm surprised. Maybe
he was named a coach 10 days ago. Where was that? I had COVID. Let me off the hook.
Yuri
COVID?
has it.
Well, good.
Yuri's mom has it and Yuri has it.
Did you make out with some Duck fans this weekend at least? Jesus.
Oh,
No.
They tried to make out with Paul Molina though.
Well, who doesn't?
They're
try to
getting
make
up
out
in
with
his
Molina?
face.
I'll make fun of Oregon fans tonight, but I can't make fun of anyone for trying to make out with Funky Paul Molina.
Oh,
That
they're the
dude
worst.
Just looks like a good kisser. You just can look at him and know, yep, you kiss, bro.
I don't know how he held his cool. Those Oregon fans were just super mean, as they always are.
Well, wait. He didn't keep his cool. I mean, he kind of did, but the police were called.
He kept his cool in the fact that he didn't pummel them. It would have been hard for me not to.
This is the first I'm hearing of this. I had no idea that law enforcement
Dude.
was involved in any part of this weekend in Corvallis.
Yeah, and so actually,
tell the story.
I'm not gonna go into too much personal detail, but essentially a Duck fan got upset at Funky Paul and decided that they were going to find the police, and they grabbed the police, told the police they wanted to press charges on him. The police were like, it sounded like they were considering removing him right then and there, but then he explained his side of the story, and they were like, okay, well, we'll go look at the video. And so they went and found any sort of security tape video evidence, and they came back and they were like, yeah, she wants to press charges, but there's nothing, so we're just moving on. It's done. So Duck fans trying to improperly imprison Beaver fans for enjoying the game as best as they could. Shame on them.
Maybe that was a favor.
It's not entrapment, but kind of entrapment.
Yeah. How dare they?
You can't make up any lies that will get past the Reeser ring light that is watching everybody.
Just in general, I have to say, I won't get into too much detail either. It was all started by them turning to Paul and just filming him and then getting in his face to get a reaction from him.
Yeah.
Outside of the context of Oregon State, or sports in general, don't fucking do that shit. That's awful. That's being a terrible person. And just part of the terrible.
What point of the game was this taking place?
Instigating and then playing victim is really a sad excuse for anything.
Yeah. Look, we're pulling. It sounds like we're pulling at straws here because of the score of the game, but that specific interaction, along with others that I saw, just solidified to me that unbiasedly is the worst fan base.
I had a good one though. I don't know, were you there yet, Benny? So we got up into the terrace and I'm standing, along the rail tables, and these three young Duck fan dudes just walk up. I mean, it's kickoff, maybe slightly after, and they just walk up, weave their way through the crowd. It was pretty much 4 people levels deep from the rail tables at the terrace, consistent standing room only fans. Anyways, they weave their way through all of them, and they just like go stand in front of the bar rail tables, just like in an empty space between the seats in the terrace and the table, like in front of everybody, in front of like the people next to us that were Beaver fans, like that we had just met there watching. They're like, come on, help us get these guys out of here. And I was like, oh, I got something. So those credentials that were tucked very far away, I pulled them out and I said, hey, this is media only.
You told me about that, and then they just got out of there.
They immediately looked at each other, like tapped each other on the chest, like slapped the backhand of the chest, like pointed over, and then like walked off, just disappeared into the day.
Hey, but can we talk about that for a second? Because I've games at Research, and almost all of them have been sold out, and I've never had an opposing fan base go into that area.
Tuck themselves.
Right, you look at that area, it's like it's an unsaid rule.
The last row of seats. Yeah, that's a fucking dick move. You don't go in front of the table.
I've never had that problem with any other fan base, and it is sort of like an unspoken rule that everyone understands. Like, that is a space that you don't go into because you're immediately going to be blocking somebody. But just adds to it. Not surprised, disappointed, but not surprised.
Can imagine those dudes were like, yo, look at this. We scored this great unobstructed view from the end zone. No one in front of us. The only people who are sitting at like our waist level or lower.
That's almost as egregious as just going on the field and being like, we can watch from here, right?
Yeah.
Man, it's funny because it's all we have. You guys were there. You were both
all
there.
we have.
It's not all we have. We got more.
That's all we have for the game, maybe. Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, JP, you got a great pick of hanging out with Quiz and Sean Canfield. We're doing this social stuff now.
Good to see those guys.
We actually start talking about the game because that's gonna get depressing in a hurry. But hanging out with Quiz and Can, man. I don't think anyone just called him Can, but
Can the man.
Can the man.
No one called him that either. Wow, what a missed opportunity that was.
Wonderland. How are those guys? Did you just spot them in the terrace? I mean, I love that they make sure the alumni who we would recognize anyway, maybe not everyone, but like have those big placard style credentials that say Jacquizz Rogers, as if any of us in school at the time don't know exactly who Jacquizz Rogers is whenever we see him. But that's dope.
Yeah. Well, so I saw there was a ton of alumni up in the valley seats, and somebody pointed them out to me that wasn't with like our group. They were just like, oh, hey, all these people are up there. Check it out. And like I immediately could see Quiz, like he's very recognizable of a human being, and especially with all of his accolades at Oregon State during the time when we were there. And I was like, oh, cool. I didn't realize that Quiz would be here. Then I realized, they were honoring all the new Hall of Fame inductees on the field. Anyways, I just kind of went back to watching the game, and I was going over to get a hot dog for the kids, and I look and he walks right past me, but he's like cutting down to the field. And I was like, yeah, they're definitely honoring all these people. That makes sense. Like, I don't know, 45 minutes later, I'm back in line for the porta potties, and I stop and I'm talking with Sam Whiteley. Shout out the Peyton Years podcast. Yeah. And I met his wife, and they're expecting. So congratulations to them. And They as we were chatting, Quiz and some of the rest of the guys came walking back up the ramp, walking right past me, and I just had to like say hello again because I had a decent amount of classes with Quiz. Saw him quite often around at different events, off the field events, and it was good to bump into him again. So I said,
volunteer work.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, as we were chatting, some other former players popped up, and it was Sean Canfield was one of them who chatted for a while. And
love Sean.
Also went to church quite a bit with Sean Canfield.
We were always at Sean Canfield.
Yeah. The Church of Tailgaters was, I think, what it used to be called.
There was an altar at Tailgaters for a time. So I don't want to hear saying it wasn't church.
Yeah.
We preferred the very, very, very early Sunday morning service. Like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, right when God's really awake.
God's country on God's time. You heard it here.
Yeah. But it was, honestly, I think that's my silver lining of the weekend. There was a ton of alumni there. It was really cool to bump into a bunch of them. I would say the fans as well, like, totally showed out. I'll caveat that for something I'll maybe talk about later after we do some of the beers and everything else and really get into it. But I shout out to Keith. The super fan Keith, he was all over the place on the field, and he had a nice pregame field passes, which I was very happy to see. There was a lot of times where we'd be down there and he'd be in the terrace, just like really engaged with the players as they're coming out of the tunnel, filming, taking photos. And I kept always thinking, why is this guy not down here, man? He deserves it. And getting to see him down there, I was really happy about that. Ran into listener. I was outside of Reeser, like smearing sunscreen on the Miss Mini Bebe, and they came up to me. I think they said it was T Sharp was who they were. I'm trying to D Sharp.
D Sharp.
Yes. Okay.
D Sharp's the man.
Yes. Yeah. So thank you for saying what's up. That's right.
You and the local boys.
God, who else? There was a couple other people.
There were a couple listeners in the terrace that I had a chance to talk to.
Yeah, John Snyder, athletic director, associate athletic director for rowing. Big listener. Really had some great conversations with him. Terry, I don't know if you were privy to this. I don't know if we even brought it up yet, but he did mention potentially doing an episode from the boathouse.
Yes, we haven't talked
about
I'm
very down for.
That's awesome, though.
No.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have to figure out how to make that work.
That would be not to like really compare sports. Like, we would suck at all these things, but like how it was floated, especially middle of gymnastics, where it's like, let's do the whole gymnastics routine and see what happens. Which
see how many limbs we break.
Yeah, I mean, that I guess is fun for the listener because we're just gonna go to the hospital. Not that we would be able to do a rowing workout at all, but I'm convinced we could like not drown at least. So
well,
I would love to. I would love to like just see how how many like boat lengths we could make it down the Willamette on one of those 6 a.m. workouts, but doing it at noon. I think we would be better. I think we would be better than you think we would be, but we would still be very, very bad.
Yeah, I would just let it float. Yeah. I only float the Willamette, okay? I will try to row
the Willamette,
but I will just, my paddles will be like in the air, like I just can't reach the water. It looks like we're going with the current.
Everyone has to turn in their Peloton bikes for Peloton rows, and then we'll do this for a full year, and then for the first football game next year, we'll do the boathouse. I'd like to do the boat.
We just have a 6-pack tied into the boat, hanging in the water just to keep them cool.
Yeah, instead of a boat, it's an inflatable air mattress, and it's just floating. So exactly like old times, but we don't drown. I will never forget.
Yeah, ran into Mitch Canham too, by the way.
Fuck yeah.
And I just want to close out this real quick. Ran into Mitch, said what's up. Good to see him, and bumped into Mr. Scott Barnes, who we'll probably talk about later. And
you've got things to talk about with him.
Quick convo and handshake with the big man.
And there were two listeners that I had a chance to see at the end of the game. Did not catch either of their names, or maybe I did. But I had a couple beers. But the dude who met his wife in Alabama, you know that. And then the guy who I was talking to, who all of my friends left as I was talking to him, so I had to run away. So he'll know who he is.
You didn't get his name either. So it's.
I mean, I did. Oh, I got his name.
It's somewhere deep in that brain.
So Benny,
I never drink, and I had a couple.
Shout out
there,
shout out to listener guy who met his wife in Alabama, and also guy who was talking to Benny while Benny's other friends left, so Benny ran away.
Yeah,
we clearly love
crazy
you.
Legs were moving quick
so much.
Yeah, I feel terrible, but it was a great conversation with both of them. Yes, it was. He served in the military, so again, thank you for your service,
Joe.
No, it's not Joe. Yeah, definitely not Joe.
If
it is you, hit us up.
Hit us up, and we'll apologize.
Both incredibly nice. Yeah.
Nice. Well, the structure of this episode, I kind of wanted to start with bad stuff first, but we obviously have a beer segment to get to, and I think I'm kind of interrupting my own plans because my beer is directly inspired by the good stuff, or like the more positive stuff that I'm still conflicted with, but feeling good about. So maybe we talk about that. It's related to realignment news, and realignment news that doesn't suck. So
you're going against this fucking document that you prize so much.
Well, it's not necessarily chronological.
Worthless. Hey,
the pod is fluid.
Fluff. It's all fluff.
An outline is a guideline. Otherwise, we would just read the notes right off. You know, we have to have some creative
outline
license.
of fluff.
An outline of fluffy
It's like a fluff of fluff.
That's
I
basically what we are.
Wait, let's throw another pivot in. Can we represent for these guys
JP,
before we do the beers?
Yeah.
Talk about your new, even though this isn't an official sponsorship, but talk about your new hat. Because if you're not, if you are watching us, you'll notice a pretty dope new hat on JP's head.
Yeah.
And if you aren't watching us, you should watch us to see the dope new hat on JP's head. JP, tell us about the dope new hat on your head.
Yeah, dude. So check it out. Look at this is like one of those like rubber emblems.
Fuck yeah.
On the cap. So it's like really good quality.
Rope hat.
Yeah.
A lot of things.
It's almost, it kind of reminds me. Do you remember when all those MLB teams started putting 3D logos on their batting helmets?
Yes.
I feel like this is probably what it was.
Right.
But everyone loves a good rope hat. This is like one of those caps that's like got all the perforation, so it's great for like warm weather wear.
Yard work.
Yeah,
hat,
like good golfing
like
cap.
Swimming. You could swim in that hat.
Yeah, it's kind of got that like water resistant fabric.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we're in the merch game, of course. We're not in the like inventory holding merch game by any means. That's like next level stuff. I believe that this business, which is Beaver State hats, I believe.
Yeah.
And
it's a mutual follow. Social.
Yeah, mutual follow. But I've just personally, like, not even for our own merch. I mean, maybe a little bit if I could have found one at a decent price for non-inventory per on demand. But I've been looking for a rope cap that's got the black and orange rope for like 3 years.
Damn.
And it's really hard to find one that you can buy inventory of, let alone individual ones. And this is just a sick cap. It fits nicely. It's good quality. Even look at this under the brim. Check that out.
Is that
the wood grain? Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
That's a nice touch.
Yeah. Really
you
good.
Don't see that.
Attention to detail. No, man. They
did a good job.
You
never see that.
So give them your support.
Beaver State hats.
You can find them. Get their hats. Look at I got this like card from them, and you can follow them. At least I know on Instagram, but it's at Beaver State Hats on Instagram. I'll give them a follow. Give them your support. Beaver fans, small business, creating cool stuff. And yeah, I wanted to make sure I shouted them out. I paid for this myself. Let's be real. This is not a paid promotion at all, but we'll support Beaver fans and all their endeavors. So good on y'all.
Man. Yeah, it looks good.
Fuck yeah. Shout out Beaver State hats. And let's, unofficially, the sponsors of the beer segment for this episode. I want to go last. It's not even that cool, but I want to go last. So, Benny,
I'll go first.
Why don't you go first?
I don't have it with me, but I did have a Baja Blast today, and it was delicious. I had enough beers at the game.
You're still sipping that Baja Blast in spirit. I'm guessing it wasn't a hard Baja Blast.
It was not. No, I did not get it from the Taco Bell cantina down in Las Vegas.
You can get hard Baja Blast.
That was the best food we had in Vegas.
You can get hard.
Oh shit!
Yeah. I don't know if that's a game changer. I don't know if I just ruined your life. Can you
get $2 bills in change? Because that was the best. That's the best liquor store for those that know.
Maybe, probably not. You can try it. Yeah, it's like variety packs of the hard Baja Blast and hard Mountain Dew that Mountain Dew came out with.
You know what? I am going to be right back. I have a burrito that is left over that I left on the table, and my dogs are going to get it if I don't grab it. 1 second.
What?
Should we cut this out or should we keep this in?
No, we had to keep this in. Anyways, I guess I'll go while Benny gets his other prior vice.
The look on his face was so concerned.
He's running back. Are you wearing a button up in basketball shorts? Yeah.
Oh no, they're golfing shorts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you came running in so athletically. I thought you were wearing athletic
basketball shorts.
/ basketball shorts. All right. Well, I guess I'll go since Terry's going last and Benny had a Baja Blast and a burrito emergency.
Wait, what kind of burrito, Benny?
Well, it's from the Lux box, so I think it's a beefy, cheesy burrito.
Okay.
I don't know. I get the Lux box every time, and it's so good. Also, not a paid sponsorship, but I would suggest getting one.
I'm having a Reuben. Is it Reuben's Brewing? Reuben's Brewing? Yeah, Reuben's Brews Hazelicious Hazy IPA in honor of Benny's brain since he had multiple beers on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah,
multiple beers.
Thanks for bailing me out there. I feel terrible stuff. Dude, my brain is hazy.
Hazelicious.
My brain is hazelicious all the time. But it was especially hazelicious after that game.
It was hot, man. Before you go, Terry, like I'll just say, it was supposed to be like 67 and cloudy.
Yeah.
And then even like a kickoff, it was supposed to be like 65 max. And it was pretty cloudy like in the morning and pregame, but it cleared out so fast. And all of a sudden was just like blazingly hot.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we were recording this today on Tuesday, September 17th.
Sunburnt?
I was so sunburned.
Yeah, I got sunburned too. I was I was so panicked when I went to the stadium to meet up with JP because I didn't have sunscreen, and all of a sudden it went from like 65 to 80 in like the span of 15 minutes. Yeah. Luckily, JP hooked it up. He had some sunscreen.
You guys have recovered.
I went to the Beaver store to buy sunscreen.
Yeah.
I did not buy a big, tearaway Post-it style
sign. For your guys,
forgot about that.
For your guys' shit talking presentation. Well, that's why we lost. Well, shout out the Beaver store and shout out your guys' skin recovery because you both look great.
Thanks.
So we this isn't to dip around any of the negative dealings we need to talk about because we'll get into that. We're going to talk about this loss. Don't worry about a thing, Beaver fans or Duck fans who for some reason keep listening to the show and then saying nice things about us.
They talk shit.
Saying nice things about it, I guess. But yeah.
It's like 50-50 of Duck fans who say like, you idiots.
Sure.
And versus the ones who say like, hey, I actually love the pod, but I'm a Duck fan.
Right. I think that's an incredible ratio because it should be 0 versus 100. But anyway, I still appreciate the positive, SEO and comments left, no matter the source, because I'm a businessman.
Likewise. Yeah.
But
I thought I'd say
the game wasn't the only thing that happened this week, and other decent, exciting things happened as Benny runs away again and is chased by a pack of
He forgot his burrito on. He forgot his burrito on the nightstand.
I still think it was smart for this news to come out this week and for Oregon State to release it this week. The pack lives. The pack moves on, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. Realignment years, and we have gone from 2-pack to 6-pack. So I don't so much as have one beer tonight. I have a 6-pack of Pacifico, and I will drink every one of these. I wanted to, label everyone for one of the, 6 schools in this new super conference that some are calling it. I didn't get around to that, but we'll say that this one is San Diego State because that's the first school that came to mind, and so I'm going to crack it now.
Please drink all 6 on this episode.
We'll see if I can drink
before the beer segment's over.
Yeah,
that is a non-hazy brain that came up with that idea.
Yeah, well, it's not a hazy IPA.
Pacifico 6-pack.
It's just it's clara. It's clear.
Clara.
Of course.
Yeah. That's Spanish for Clara.
Spanish for I kind of dig this new fucking conference.
It is Spanish.
I at least dig the move. I do have multiple sides to it, which stem from kind of my reaction on being a team that was on the other side of this multiple years ago. But anyway, I would like to raise this bottle of the 6-pack to Scott Barnes and to Oregon State and to you guys and to the Pac-12. Right now, there are...
How about Teresa Gold?
And Teresa Gold. For making a move, we at least kind of know what's happening. Anyway, salute.
And to Benny's brain.
Yes, thank you.
Benny's brain.
He needs it.
Well, you guys, tonight is a Pisces super harvest moon lunar eclipse type thing. So if any weird shit happens during the rest of the episode, we know why.
Oh, side note, are you guys getting like northern lights all the time now?
No.
Very specific? No?
Like all.
We've gotten we got northern lights like the last 3 nights, sort of going in like your harvest moon eclipse.
Like full northern lights?
Like not as crazy as what they were back in, what was it, May? But yeah, like visible northern lights here.
Damn.
And we haven't had them for like 20 years before this.
Is it
super strange?
It's like officially the northern lights.
Yeah.
Astronomers are
Many
are astronomers are saying
it's not people just like shining flashlights up in the sky.
It's not just Mercury and Gatorade again.
It's not Mercury and Gatorade. Yeah. That's for sure.
Yeah, Mercury's in like glacier freeze Gatorade. That's why it's so shiny. That's dope. No, and I was another part of the reason why we record on Tuesday is because I went up north and forgot my microphone and didn't get back till today where my microphone is. I did not see the northern. I was as north gets, kind of. Not really, but in this country.
You're too far north.
You have to say, so like this is going deep and don't laugh at it until you hear the end of it. But have you guys heard of the children from Fatima? JP, you probably have. It's like a Catholic thing.
I think
the children of Fatima
sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Like the miracles of Fatima.
Yeah.
It's long story short is these like 3 prophecies that came to these kids back in the early century, and one of the prophecies, if I'm remembering this right, was that the sky was going to turn red right before something bad happened, right? Which ended up being World War II. I know that because my grandma always talked about being able to see the northern lights, which were red back in like the early 40s or like whenever that broke out.
Wait, are you
point is that we have not seen the northern lights in a very long time here in the Pacific Northwest. And so the fact that we are seeing them gives a sign from a higher power.
That's something
that there is about to be a super conference created that is about to trump every other super conference that has ever been created.
And I think
that's the real prophecy here.
I can see that.
Yeah.
So
thank you for not laughing at that before.
No.
So when breaking news,
as a Catholic, I confirm.
When breaking news,
I got it. Yeah.
I got it too, even though I'm a heathen. But so while we're recording, as it gets dropped that Memphis and Tulane have also joined the Pac-12, that will be a direct effect from the miracle.
I thought you said it did.
No, I'm saying
which could definitely happen while we're recording
during a harvest moon, and there was some reporting that Memphis and Tulane have emerged as the top targets. But fuck it, let's talk about realignment first, because the game this weekend was really hard and really deflating, and I'm ready to be depressed about it publicly with you guys. But also, realignment news over the last 2+ years has been really depressing and really deflating.
The worst.
And there's at least the most cynical view of this news is that Oregon State's place in this cruel, fucked up world improved from where it was to where it is now. And I'm not like 100% just over the moon about everything, but I am happy. I am pleased. I think there's a lot to be excited about, mainly that I think me not getting assassinated proved that my, Big 12 theory wasn't entirely true. This doesn't mean it's not going to happen.
Fucking hope it doesn't happen.
There's a number of, realignment carousels in the near to less near future. I'm not predicting any of that, but I think this at least improves footing. The little bit of research I've done so far has shown that the fan bases at Boise State Colorado State, Fresno State, and San Diego State are all pretty excited about this, which is also something that we love to see. I think all 6 teams are undeniably fun, bring something more than just football, are in markets I like going to. I will hold a caveat for going to an away game at Fresno State because I do hear that is a nightmare, but I can also recognize the value in a fan base that's that intimidating. So, but yeah, so the Pac-12 lives, made a move. Those 4 aforementioned schools are joining Oregon State and Washington State. And I think as of right now, there's an easy divisions you can divide the 6 teams into, and that's states and not states. Oregon, Washington, and Colorado are all states. Colorado State, Oregon State, Washington State. And then Boise State, Fresno State, San Diego State as the city states. We know that's going to change. The number is going to change. And we'll talk a little bit about possibilities, but just to talk about some positive things before we get into this bad Civil War loss we suffered this weekend. The 6-pack, you guys, I believe we have shirts already up on the website because that's how fast JP works. How are you feeling?
Yeah.
Just some
Incredible.
good realignment news for the longevity of the good sporting schools of Oregon State and Washington State.
Yeah, I mean, not that I'm Nostradamus or anything. Back on, I guess it might have been recorded on July 5th, 2022. It was the week after the emergency episode when USC and UCLA
episode 55
announced their departure. So it was at episode 54 was my return from the wilderness. And in that episode, I declared that the pack is going nowhere. I had no reason to say that other than it just seemed so far-fetched for a conference with this much history and story and longevity to just disappear because it was deemed worthless. And I held out hope for a very long time that rationale I had in July of 2022 would stay true. And I'm very happy with the developments. I would say I'm not going to put it above other possible developments. I'm not going to say that it's better than joining another conference that already has the media deal, that already has been expanding, right? Whatever that might be. I'm not going to say that it's worse than that option either. It's literally a parallel option to me with a lot more upside, but still with a decent amount of question marks. What I think high level love the most is that the Pac-12 will remain. And as I had thrown into the universe or the multiverse or whatever else there is, the omniverse, is that one? Or is that just our universe? But whatever I said back in July of 2022, it stays true. This is a great conference. It's very storied. It means a lot to me personally. It means a lot to a lot of fans. And I would be crushed to see it disappear, even if it had to change shape almost completely in order to stay alive. So first and foremost, I'm very, very happy about that. I mean, obviously, there's so much more that we could talk about that is good and bad about this. But
let's focus on good.
Really love the idea
for now.
Yeah, but what I love about this idea of the teams that are joining thus far, the geography, of course, is great, and that kind of backs up what the athletic directors and the presidents have said about the wellness of student athletes being top priority, and travel, ensuring that travel doesn't supersede class and emotional and physical wellness, but that I don't know how long that will last as a rally cry for what's great about the conference. Maybe it, for the most part, could be, but I don't know how many more options they have on the West Coast. But the schools that have joined from the West Coast, the 4 schools, I truly feel that if the bottleneck of old conference structure had not hampered their potential ascension into a power conference, they would, in any other context, be close to or already longtime power schools. And the reason I say that is you can be the best in the Mountain West that might beat most of the worst in other conferences. But if there's no room for you, you're still just the best in the Mountain West.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all you'll ever be. But with this new formation of the Pac-12 and carving out that kind of in-between spot and forcing the issue about what does a power conference really mean, because everyone's already stripped us of that for the Pac-12. And everyone has avoided applying those labels to Boise State or to San Diego State or to Fresno State. Yet they have pushed that issue also on their own accord more than a handful of times, and sometimes for a very long stretch of time. Now they have the opportunity to prove that they are power conference level athletic programs. Now the Pac has the ability to say, you know, screw your power, whatever athletic program, pedigree, definition, whatever you have. We're breaking the mold. We're showing you how. We're bringing in schools that are ready for that ascension, more than ready, I believe. And we're going to carve out this new world just as much as these schools that jump ship to save their power status think that they're carving out a new world. Again, it's a parallel universe track, maybe. But it really does feel like there's two races happening right now. One, all right, security, I got to this conference. See, I'm still a power conference school. Or, fuck your power conference definition. You're going to have to figure out where we fit in that, and we're going to make you do that.
And Benny, I don't want to jump ahead of you too hard, but just the power conference thing too is I'm not too hard. Now it's weird. But I think the obsession with getting in the Big 12 was sort of that it was sort of the last feasible option of the power conference menu. Mm-hmm. But I do think we need to assess this from a standpoint of there aren't 4 power conferences. There are 2 power conferences. Is the Big Ten and the SEC and the P2, and they control everything. I think the Big 12 has a lot of assets and attractive landing spots, whatever. And the ACC, I think the AC is slowly dissolving, and I don't think it's going to dissolve quickly, but it's going to dissolve quickly enough to where it's not something you ever would have wanted to sign up for. And I think all 3 of the new schools in Cal, Stanford, and SMU do have buyer's remorse that they'll just not admit to. So charting your own path as opposed to trying to pretend like you have the same seat at the table as Oregon, Washington, USC, UCLA can work out. It can backfire, but it also can be a dramatic advantage, credit to your self-awareness, as long as there's, a counter move and then a counter move, which I'm assuming that they have in place already. But yeah, getting into the Power 4 should not be anyone's goal, because there's not a Power 4, there's a Power 2. Benny, go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. And I think sort of to that point, I tweeted something of to the effect of the Pac-12 is trying to blur the lines between Power 4 and Group of 5, right? And had several people say, well, there is no such thing. It's a media constructed idea. And that is true. But it's also an idea that is prevalent out there. And I think that before realignment, there was a very clear Power 5 group of conferences, and there was a very clear Group of 4 or Group of 5. Yeah. Group of 5 set of conferences. And now it's not so clear. And I think, this has been talked about a lot, but if you go out and you get Tulane and Memphis, right? From the AAC would be the only other conference in that sort of Group of 5 that may give you a run for your money in terms of the highest ranked champion, which means that you'll most likely, not always, not guaranteed, but most likely the champion from the Pac-12 would have a spot in the college football playoff, right? And I think that is a really important thing. Probably the most important thing here is you have to think to yourself, if we were, number one, with the Big 12, I know I was a proponent for it too, but I would so much rather carve my own path or have Oregon State carve their own path than to be beggars at the table where half of the schools didn't want you.
The question, though, the Pac-12 has theoretically now at least a more clearly defined path to the CFP, right? But that is also all out the window in 4 years, theoretically, when the CFP is renegotiated.
Right. But everything is out the window at like 2029.
But also, like, that's what I mean is that what if the Pac has an incredible showing in the CFP over the next 4 years?
It could.
Getting involved now makes any sort of negotiation then
4 full seasons.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But makes any negotiation later maybe a little bit easier to navigate if you're like, we've been in the top.
If you're playing a game of risk, you strengthen the position for sure.
Well, but think about this for the Big 12, right? The Big 10 and the SEC are both undoubtedly going to get 4 schools. You'll get the conference champions, and then you'll get the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th school. Almost every year, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Right? They're not going to – they run the table. They're not going to let the Big 12 get 3 teams in. And the Big 12's up to what, 18 teams now? 16. Okay. So if you are guaranteed 1 spot in the Big 12, you may not get 2 spots.
They'll get 2 now, but – I think it'll depend on the season. I
think it will depend on the season. So, okay. So they might get 2. But they're playing against, I think Scott Barnes said that they want 9 schools is sort of the perfect number for the Pac-12.
9 football schools. We'll talk
so
a little bit later. So let's focus on football.
Okay, but we're talking about college football playoff.
Schools, yeah.
We're talking about college, right? So in this context, 9 schools. Like, the chances of getting to the college football playoffs just went up exponentially for Oregon State.
Yeah.
Regardless of if the Pac-12, as we knew it, stayed together or we went to the Big 12, like, this is the best situation for Oregon State if you're in the context of making the college football playoffs.
Sure. I would say, right? Not regardless of the football game we just watched on Saturday, but
not regardless.
Okay, but like in a larger context,
it's a bigger picture thing. I couldn't resist. Yeah. I'm sorry,
but you're also playing against schools that have the same resources as you. So that's what I'm saying. Like, in this world of NIL and where money is getting funneled into the football programs and used to give yourself an advantage, like, Oregon State was going to really struggle in the Pac-12. And I know people don't want to hear that, but the previous Pac-12. People aren't going to want to hear that, but it's true. Like, it is true.
But and also, so now if we face a whole season, though, of almost level playing field of NIL opponents, right? Then we go to the college football playoff and everyone says, well, yeah, you're going to get stomped just like you did every time you played somebody that had unlimited resources for bringing in, top recruits or top transfers. That's where I say, go look at the times that USC came to Corvallis. Do you not think that USC was bringing in whoever they wanted with a little bit of
they had unlimited resources.
Unlimited resource handshakes happening, and
it didn't just
there was still plenty of season-wrecking upsets.
Here, I agree 100% with you. I will agree 100% with you, and I think.
But facing a whole season of it is the struggle that we would have faced.
We're in the perfect spot right now because we don't have to face a full season of that to get in there. And then once you're in the college football playoffs,
what do you mean?
Anything can happen.
What do you mean we don't have to face?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't have to.
You're not having.
Yeah.
You're not having to face
USC,
schools
UCLA,
that have $25 million a year.
Stanford,
and the way the bracket works, and even like who knows, like this will probably be 12 for the duration of these 26 through the 29 season, those 4 seasons. The bracket will probably be 12, though. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I don't know how long it has to be 12 contractually, but nothing. I'm just conditioned to not be surprised by anything anymore. If it's up to 14, because that's what the Big Ten or the SEC or both wants, then like if that happens in like a year, I wouldn't be surprised. That's not.
Wouldn't it make more sense to just go to like 16?
The first thing I saw in expansion was 14 with like a more elaborate bye system, because if it's 16, then it's too liberal and too open for the group of 5 teams, because they would have to they'd have to like throw another spot or two.
Yeah, because they're worried about them coming in and upsetting
doing Cinderella shit.
a top 4 seed or something.
Yes, because then it's 1 plays 16 and 2 plays 15, and everything makes sense and matches up from a scheduling standpoint. Eventually, we have the Pac-12 division of the Big Ten Conference. We're all going to end up back there again. Here's another element of this that I like, and it does tie in with what I'm still feeling a little bit gross about, but on paper and logically, it's the cream of the Mountain West crop. And what the Mountain West, I think, did well and deserves credit for over the years was having a lot of different irons in the fire. They had TV network agreements with Fox and CBS and most recently Turner. I think if all of those networks were interested in having deals with the Mountain West, they are now more interested in continuing those relationships with the 4 teams who just announced that they are leaving for the Pac-12 and the Pac-12 as a conference. So I think there is a lot of opportunity for the Pac-12 to say that we can come to whatever agreement. You could probably pitch a pretty good Friday night thing to be on FS1 weekly. That's just an example. You could have, something, with Turner and then maybe Fox and CBS sort of splitting the rest of the Saturday slates, whatever. Also, even though ESPN has treated the Pac very poorly, and our 2 schools in particular very poorly, there's still a track record of them acknowledging the Pac-12 after dark, or at least West Coast kickoff after dark spots. And the numbers behind that
needs to be filled.
Don't lie. Like that is a lucrative broadcasting thing to have, which we now hold a lot of the chips to. So from a TV network negotiating aspect, where you're not just sort of like trying to sell individual games, whatever, there's a lot of product that TV networks want and also need and have a history of showing interest in. Like, I think the Mountain West operated pretty well these last 5 to 10 years to improve access to their product and to just be as available as possible. So Teresa Gould has a very, very strong starting point with all of those networks. I don't think it will get to the level of millions that we're hoping for before the whole Pac-12 collapsed and whatever, but like, you can negotiate, 5 million here, 5 million there, like a 2 million weekly thing, like weekly game on this channel here. Like, there's a lot of just creative possibilities with this, and a history of business relationships with literally every network you would want to be associated with.
Well, and on top of that, like, you have to think the 4 schools leaving the Mountain West didn't leave to get the same media rights deal that they had.
They believe they can get
right, and so for sure. And I think that they better be pretty sure that they can get something better, or that would have been a ridiculous move. But they also had the Pac-12, Oregon State, Washington State did help pay the exit fees. But if I'm understanding it correctly, these schools also had to pay fees to leave that Oregon State and Washington State did not cover. So there was extra money that they did have to pay.
They covered everything, I'm pretty sure, with the war chest.
Well, no. I think that
so.
So everything that I've seen that's been reported has said like that the Pac-12 is going to pay 111 million or whatever.
Settle on like a lower amount.
No, but that's incorporating the contractual exit fees that the 4 schools will face for leaving.
There's the exit fees, but then they also agreed to
and there's the poaching fee.
The poaching fee.
I know there's
the Pac-12 agreed to.
Yeah, but the poaching fee is definitely on the Pac-12's hands. That's no doubt.
43 million of the 111 million reported.
Right. Now, the rest of it, no one has really said who's paying it as far as I've been able to read. It just says that now the Pac-12 has to pay this much money, but the Pac-12 are they blanket labeling the new schools as the Pac-12? Has the Pac-12 already said that it's going to, come to the aid of these schools and cover everything for the exit fee? No one has confirmed any of that I have seen. Nobody.
If you go to Pac12.com, the 6 school logos are there. So
right, but no, what I'm
they
saying
are
is
on
that
the hook for covering that. Whether that comes out of their pockets or not can still be decided. But like legally, that's something that they need.
Saying that it's going to come from those schools, but it's a matter of if the Pac-12 is going to reimburse them for that. I don't know the answer to that, but I do think that it's worth noting, and maybe there's not an answer to that.
it also could be to every
It also could
university.
be paid out
Maybe
over
it is
years.
unique to every
too.
university. Right.
But it also could be like maybe Colorado State's exit fee. Maybe they're willing to pay more percentage of an exit fee for the Mountain West that they contractually agreed to with the Mountain West to come with
Or if
the
it's
other
a
three,
cut
or
of
some other school.
deals and other things like that.
Yeah, like we don't know how this is all going to be structured. It's just essentially that's why I think everyone's saying there's a lump sum that is owed to the Mountain West for all of this movement. One of them is contractually agreed upon by the Pac-12 for poaching. The others are the contractual agreements with the universities, with the conference for leaving early.
Yeah.
Where the money comes from outside of what the Pac-12 had agreed to, if they poach anybody, is, I guess, TBD. But like, I would
point to that these schools are pretty sure that they are going to be getting a good, much better deal. And they should. They should, because, the expectation, as alluded to before, and I think reported by every single podcast and radio show or TV show that's talking about this, is that Tulane and Memphis is going to be next players. It also sounds like the next targets. It also sounds like Pac-12 really wants UNLV, but it's the sticking point is that they're tied to University of Nevada at Reno in the same way that Cal and UCLA were tied together.
So
that resulted in that big court case.
There's precedent there,
right?
And also, but with UNLV and Nevada, they've only been in the same conference, I believe, since the Mountain West formed in 1994. So there's much more precedent for UNLV and Nevada being separated. But I also don't think you can cleanly separate the two, which is why I don't think UNLV, because a lot of people are like, what the fuck? Why isn't UNLV in this? And I think that's part of it because they share border regions in that state.
Yeah, and I've heard people say, maybe we just know this, or we feel like we know this better because we've been in the center of it. But hearing people say, well, UNLV has only had 3 winning seasons in the last 30 years or whatever. That shit does not matter.
UNLV should have been in the Pac-12 20 years ago.
Should have. And having the Las Vegas market, which I know also isn't the top thing, but having that market, being able to play in that market is huge. If for no other reason than recruiting, obviously lots of other reasons, but that's what I like so much about this idea of you have San Diego State, right? That's you need a team in SoCal to recruit, to have a sort of recruiting base down there. You have Fresno, and the Valley
turns out a lot of talent.
Takes football incredibly serious, right? A lot of kids come out of the Valley, and Boise State. I don't think Idaho has good recruiting hotbed, but Boise State's the biggest brand that's coming along. And then you get the Denver metro area with Colorado State. But then you look at Memphis and Tulane, and getting the ability to go on the road and recruit in Louisiana or Tennessee is huge. And those programs also have been on the up and up for a while, which would be great to get those. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are. We don't need to dig into this.
We got to get to the game
a whole lot,
soon,
but just
we can talk longer.
But just like, what do you think that if UNLV comes, Tulane comes, Memphis comes? And I don't think that's like not shooting for the stars. That's pretty widely reported that that's what they want.
It's what they want.
But what would you guys expand after that to ensure that you are the best conference under the Big 12 and ACC?
I think you'd need to maybe take a breath after doing that. We heard Barnes and I think Gould have been, maybe Canzano didn't cite this, but said like they want 9 football schools, and emphasis was on football schools. And there are a lot of whispers out there about Gonzaga, and the Big 12 has been trying to get Gonzaga as non-football members, and I think it would just be a shrewd, fun as hell move to add Gonzaga as a non-football member, just to strengthen everyone else. And I think even at that point too, you could be like, name your co-WCC member to come with you to be a non-football member, which would probably be St.
Mary's.
Easily. That doesn't move the needle a ton from a financial standpoint, but would just be a fun as hell, marketing ploy for all of the months that's not football season and for the conference's basketball agenda. For what you mentioned, Benny, say the other three teams are UNLV, Memphis, and Tulane. You're telling me that at this time last week, it was just Corvallis and Pullman, and everyone was saying left for dead. I deal with this at work. I deal with this everywhere. People are just like, wait a minute. Why does it still say Pac-12 for Oregon State and Washington State? And then I have to be like, well, it's still a conference. They're like, no, it isn't. And I'm like, no, it is. They're figuring their shit out. We're going to go from that to having away days at San Diego, Las Vegas, Memphis, and New Orleans. That's already better than the entire Big Ten. And I live in a Big Ten city. Fuck your couch, motherfuckers. We just got San Diego, Vegas, Memphis, and New Orleans. What more do we fucking need? That is my initial reaction to it. That's great for the fans. Those fan bases are energetic. Obviously, we can, talk about, we could do 8 hours on this, but they make a lot of sense in terms of market, in terms of culture, in terms of just away day experience and the time zone versatility that they add for networks. I think the recruiting points are huge. I think, Tulane and Memphis aren't, huge college football playoff contenders, but could do it in a year that pops. And it's not like this is kind of the terminology we've used on this podcast. You can't just play fantasy football, adding schools to conferences like they let you do in college football 25. Like, you kind of need to be rooted down to earth a little bit. And if down to earth is actually San Diego, Las Vegas, New Orleans, and Memphis, like, not only did we dodge a bullet, we're loading a different kind of gun, and it's exciting as hell. So I would be elated if those are the three other football schools. And I don't think on the UNLV thing, I just want to add, I don't think it matters how good they are. And it also doesn't matter that Vegas isn't a city entirely of UNLV fans. You want to give your fans, your fan base, the chance to go to Vegas, once a year for football, for basketball, all kinds of stuff. You want to plant your flag fully in Vegas. The Pac-12 kind of did that in the before times in a way that, it worked. It was doing well, but it really would have gone a long way if they just added UNLV and San Diego State as Pac-12 members a long time ago, as we all.
Yeah. I mean, I think that when it comes to here's the other part is like, as everybody is looking at this as like the best, I don't know, or the worst best case scenario for the current Pac-12, I truly feel like it is one of our better options, if not our best option. And a lot of it has to do with the additions. And I think as a fan, like, you care about having schools and universities and other schools' fans in your conference that actually are invested and care about their athletic programs.
Yes.
And because you want that to be fun. You want to go to a road game and it'd be like, my God, this is like, feels intimidating because these people truly will die for their program that they're a fan of. And like, look, I've been to Stanford games. I've been to Cal games for both basketball and football and baseball. I have never been to a game in Eugene, and I really don't plan to ever attend one if the opportunity or non-opportunity ever arose. We've been to Seattle for UW. I've been to games for UCLA, not against Oregon State, but I've been to games down in Pasadena, and there's a different level of fandom that is that is being brought back to the Pac-12 that is close to being matched by some of these departing schools. And so I truly, truly feel like the upside here probably was always the best outcome of being left for dead in realignment. Though I understand why fans might feel like we settled for our only option. But you also have to think, like, from an athletic director standpoint, from a conference standpoint, from all the administration standpoint, what's easier? Rebuilding a conference and then having to deal with fans that are maybe disgruntled by that move or worried, or failure being maybe a more higher likely outcome than joining a currently established conference, wiping your hands clean, saying, job's done, all things are normal again, y'all, and getting back to the other things you have to manage on your day-to-day. I guarantee you Barnes would have freaking loved it if the Big 12 or anyone else would have said,
yeah,
we'll welcome you with open arms,
invite.
Equal share to what everyone else was going to get. Sorry it took a while. We had to wait until you had finished the lawsuit, whatever. He would have signed there in a heartbeat. Not because it's a better option. It's probably equally as good option, but it's an easier option.
Sure.
And I think anyone wants to find the shortest route from A to B in this circumstance. I think fans wanted that. And so that's why, like, tempering any pushback on this that fans might feel or have or verbalize.
Yeah.
That this isn't that we settled for our last and only option, or that we settled for our worst option. We settled for a great option. We landed on a great option. We brought in great schools. We've started to control our own destiny, and we have now a lot more opportunity ahead of us than we would have had otherwise. So I just wanted to, like, above and beyond just some of the excitement that I have about where we're headed, the schools that are joining us, what else may come with the Pac-12. I think it's really important to remind people that this wasn't like a tiered opportunity system. It wasn't like Big 10, no. Big 12, no. ACC, no. Okay, fine, rebuild. Fine, rebuild was always option 1A or 1B. The other ones were also collectively 1A or 1B. It ended up that rebuild was the option that was most, opportunistically presented to us.
For sure. And also, a lot more is going to change too. So if you're not super satisfied with this group of 6 schools in it, like, stay tuned. And
yeah, it's definitely not
also
over.
Right. And I don't know if it's ever over, to be honest. So even if you loved it, like, don't get too comfortable.
Yeah, just enjoy it while it's here.
The only thing I'll say, and then I think we can move to the game. And I haven't seen any Oregon State fans doing this because, I know we all know better. This was one of the things I said when, a number of weeks ago, and this is the times where I was like, I think going to the Big 12 would make a lot of sense. I don't know why they said no initially. Here's a theory, but here's a benefit that I liked to leaving the pack behind and joining a conference was because I do struggle with wrapping my head around what is happening to the fan bases at places like Nevada, Wyoming, Hawaii.
Absolutely.
I think Air Force will be fine. And a lot of, the worst of Duck and Husky fans, primarily because that's somehow, no matter how many times I hit the block button, find their way onto my timeline where, like, see, you just did the same thing. Where I know it's not the same thing, but also I just don't like this wheel of chaos. And I know it's a naive thought to think that this started with this round of realignment, and this started with whatever NIL transfer portal, what other big sort of villain in college sports you want to assign it to. I know it's been spinning for longer than any of us have been alive, but there are people who are associated with Nevada football and Wyoming football who are just like us and have every right to exist. And I don't know what's going to happen to their conference. I hope they find creative solutions and the Mountain West finds a way to exist. But moving forward, as excited as I am about Oregon State's position in this cruel, cruel world being improved, I'm still upset about it being a cruel, cruel world. And I think The thoughtful, engaged fan can do both. I had conversations with at least one member of every departing Pac-12 school that spoke truth to that. In person, not on Twitter, because a lot of sometimes you can have great conversations there, but a lot of times no. And I'm not trying to bail out those fan bases because I talked to the one nice person I know associated there, but this sucks for everybody. And we are no strangers to that. So I just think as we move forward and get excited, I think it is still important to be humane and know that like fan bases of teams and conferences that did nothing wrong leading up to this and are like, well, fucking cool. What do we do now?
Mm-hmm.
And it sucks. So I didn't want to go to this segment and not mention that, because this does suck for a school like, especially like Wyoming and Nevada come to mind, because it's like, sorry, maybe we could go back 200 years and build our school in a different spot.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of what it feels
and
like.
Those two especially stand out as, to me, Wyoming especially stands out to me as a school that has, it's like an Oregon State, like a smaller version of an Oregon State, just like insane fans that are absolutely in love with their program. And it's sort of, I mean, it's more in the middle of nowhere than Corvallis is, but like, it's a community that's built around that university. So, and not to say that I don't feel bad for the rest, but like that's the fan base who I really, feel bad for.
Yeah. Or like University of Hawaii. Yeah. I mean, like I feel like they were finally starting to kind of latch on to being like, members of a conference, and they're always kind of towing the line of continual relevancy in college football. Then it kind of dissipates, and then they have this like rebuild-ish momentum, and then it dissipates. Like I feel for those teams and those communities and those student athletes, and I don't envision this happening, but like I think it's worth reminding people, like, please do not like use this as ways to put down fan bases and universities and say like, enjoy regulation and enjoy being falling off the map. Yeah, like let's just, if anything, I'm rooting for the Mountain West to rebuild very, very creatively and with some very exciting universities and programs that keep it afloat, if not let it grow even further, and also allow some new programs and universities to gain more national exposure that they had not been able to achieve in the past. But also we should remember that the real villains here are Fox and ESPN.
Right.
Because now it's just a
never lose sight of that.
And it will trickle down. They'll get UTEP, they'll get, I don't want to say UTSA because they might come to the Pac-12. But you know what I'm saying.
We could
New Mexico
honestly,
State.
We could do another 3 hours on who the Mountain West.
But that's what's going to happen.
I've got some ideas, but
and it's not going to be
schools might be interested in up level.
Yeah.
But I just think it's important to be humane. We remember how shitty it felt to just like try to go online to be like, all right, well, what's the news here? What's happening? And just finding people dancing on Oregon State and Washington State's graves. And let's not be those fan bases, even though we're excited about.
If anything, tune into the Mountain West games. Tune into the games that might be broadcasts of potential ads to the conference. Like, show your support.
Right. And if you live,
I don't want to watch any fucking SEC, Big 10, Big 12 football. I couldn't give a goddamn about any of those conferences.
If you live near,
but I sure as hell will watch anything else.
If you live,
especially the Mountain West.
If you live near any Mountain West city, go, and you're a Beaver fan, go to one of those tailgates, buy people beers, buy them a hot dog, say what's up. Just because community is the whole reason why we fell in love with this sport in the first place. Before we change gears here and talk about a football game, I'm just going to say the names of really good players I like who attended the universities of the new members of the Pac-12. We have Marshall Falk from San Diego State. He's pretty good. I
almost met him. I sat with his cousin at his wing spot.
Nice. One a fair.
Do you remember that story?
You sat with. I do remember this story. We can't talk about it right now because we're already at an hour 15.
Marshall Falk's cousin is a Niners fan.
We haven't talked about the Civil War yet. We're at hour 15. But Marshall Falk's cousin is a Niners fan, and JP maybe ate wings with Marshall Falk's cousin. Joey Porter went to Colorado.
And Marshall Falk came in.
Who?
Did you eat wings with Joey Porter? Joey, Steelers linebacker, Hall of Famer?
Oh, no shit.
Joey Porter.
Yeah.
And, sorry, that's the wrong thing. Doug Martin, muscle hamster, Boise State.
Yeah.
And, of course, Devontae Adams.
Muscle hamster.
From Fresno State. There are a number of, there's the Carr brothers and also Trent Dilfer, who played quarterback at Fresno State. But
Trent Dilfer, the most
I really don't like Trent Dilfer.
Quarterback.
We're
Marcus McMarion.
we're trying to talk
Marcus
about
McMarion.
Are we just talking
Marcus
football? Because
McMarion
Kawhi
and
Leonard.
Bernard.
True.
I was just talking football, but we got Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, which worked out great for the Clippers.
Yeah.
Hopefully it works out better for the Pac-12. Guys, talk to me. Tell me why I shouldn't be reacting to this like it was an Anderson era loss, because I've spent the last 48 to 60 hours feeling like it was an Anderson era loss. I'm not sugarcoating shit. I have not felt more deflated or disappointed in a game. But tell me, why is this not an Anderson era early season blowout loss, but instead Riley era blowout early season loss? Is it a loss? Is it a lesson? Or it's definitely a loss. We can't sugarcoat that. We're 2-1. It was a really bad loss. We played like shit. But you guys were there. You were in the house. Speak comfort to me, or don't speak comfort to me if maybe you guys are more mad than I am about it.
Yeah,
but Benny, let's start with you. Just immediate takeaways of us getting our ass kicked in this first ever non-conference Civil War.
Yeah, I'll crucify myself here. I don't know if you guys are feeling the same way, but I am, and I know I'm going to get shit for saying it, but Oregon figured it out. Like, that is, in my opinion, that's what happened. Oregon looked like shit against Idaho. They looked like shit against Boise State, and it surprised people for a reason, and that's because that team has, quote unquote, unlimited funding for NIL. And they have just some really fucking good football players on that team. And the discrepancy between the funding of NIL showed that it just is a fact. You go down on the field and you see the size difference of those teams, and it is truly remarkable to see the size difference of those teams. Oregon's offensive line got it figured out. That was the big thing, I think. We got absolutely zero pressure on Dylan Gabriel.
None.
Yeah. If there's one major critique that I would have for Oregon State, and this is all prefaced by saying I watched the game in the end zone terrace. So for those of you that watched it on TV, you have a much better understanding of what happened.
Your view was blocked by Duck fans who thought the tiny gap between the drink rail and the last seats were freestanding area.
Yeah, that's true. But it seemed like our coverage, it seemed like we were playing scared in terms of our coverage. We were trying.
We played
like
scared
we
at
did not want them to beat us. Yes,
prevent.
Exactly. And so we were giving them a huge cushion, which they took full advantage of. I thought the offense played great in the first half. I think that they were trying to play catch up in the second half. We shot ourselves in the foot a lot. That first drive, all I could think of, Terry, was you just screaming at your TV because of all the penalties. That really did shoot us in the foot. But yeah, I don't know. It felt like we were in a really good position at halftime, getting it down to, I think we were down by 8, so 1-score game.
Yeah, it was 22 to 14.
I felt good about that. Like, I really did feel good about it. And just the way that the second half went, I haven't seen Reeser get that deflated that quickly. And that hurts to say, but it's true.
Yeah. I guess high-level takeaways, let's start very high level. This game did not feel like a Civil War. For some reason, from the beginning, like walking up to Reeser, my anticipation level, my anticipation level like just didn't match what I had historically felt
during the morning.
There's nothing on the line.
Yes.
Right.
There was nothing on the
I
line.
don't think
There-
I've ever slept past 6 a.m. when we played Oregon in the past.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
This one did not happen.
I think I had more urgency to like get to Corvallis so that I could like park and casually walk through campus to the stadium than I actually did about like feeling just anxious about the game that was upcoming, and it had nothing to do with like, if forwardly thinking of what the outcome may or may not be. It just felt forced. And on top of that, I think almost every fan in attendance would agree. The energy did not match. Different. It was a sold out stadium. Don't get me wrong. Beaver fans showed out. Maybe a couple season ticket holders here and there on the new side sold their seats to Duck fans and StubHub instead of showing up. But the fans showed up. They showed out. The student section, the Beaver Dam, showed out. Yeah. Almost 90 minutes
I'm glad you
before
mentioned
kick.
That because a lot of people were like, the classes haven't started yet. But the students came correct. Don't put this on the student side.
Filled it.
Early.
At capacity.
And
an hour
so amped up.
That was awesome. Yes.
Good on them.
Yeah.
Good on them. They deserve better.
But there was everything felt lacking. Watching some of the players on both sides pregame, I think Oregon had fed a little bit more off the crowd because of the taunting, as expected. I think that our players, looking back, I don't want to say that they looked timid pregame, but they didn't look as amped up for their final, conference game against their in-state rival that you see normally historically. Yeah, exactly. It missed so many of those like little vibes that would make it mean so much collectively. And I think that had a bit of a trickle down, which is why we saw in the second half that like Reeser was very quickly deflated. Why maybe players for Oregon State didn't really come to play as much as we had seen them do over the last couple of weeks. About football specifically, though, I thought that offense played great, good enough in the first half. I wouldn't say great, good enough. I don't know what happened to Jam after the first quarter. He just never even was given the ball. It was very strange. We'll see how that develops. But the defense played very timid. Almost from the first drive, I could tell that they were giving them about 3 to 4 to 5 yard buffer from the defensive backs, and like just making sure to be able to like have the range to tackle versus like making a play on the ball. It was not the kind of defense I had seen from the Bray era or thus far this season from Keith Hayward. But on top of that, there was a lack of pressure. And look, credit to Oregon. They maybe figured it out. They clearly are not as regularly bad as they looked.
Yeah, that was not the same team that played Idaho and Boise State.
They're on the upward trajectory to reach expectations, or to at least moving towards expectations versus what those first 2 weeks showed, which was moving against expectations. And maybe that played a massive part of this. But I had a hard time overlooking that the tenacity on defense was just missing. Like the energy, the fight, just that blue collar out for blood defense that we have become accustomed to ever since Bray took over the defense permanently and then took over down the team. It wasn't there. It just was a completely different defense. And then we get behind pretty big to start the second half after having it pretty close to halftime. And the offense just didn't really adjust.
Just sputtered out every single drive.
It didn't look. Nothing. I get it if you're having a hard time moving the ball because you're moving the ball 3 to 4 to 6 yards every play. Pass or run doesn't matter. Like then where are the deep shots? And I'm not putting this on any individual. This isn't on the receivers. This isn't on Vonnie. This isn't on Gundy. It is a collective thing that maybe we don't have somebody to spread the field, which Clemens is playing next week, and I hope to see him have an impact on the deep ball. I think that maybe we had a hard time getting open with enough of a time for Vonnie to read the defense and make a decision to throw, because he was also getting pressured
so
heavily
pressured.
up front. And that also can be attributed, I'm not trying to layer the mistakes or layer the excuses, but like that can be attributed to the fact that we were missing like 2 of our offensive linemen, including Van Wells, who didn't go. So
there's a lot.
There was a lot of things that were just not right about the game. And so to me, I've thrown it out. I don't give a shit. Whatever.
I think throwing it out is the right attitude, and I hope the team has replicated that, because I mean, you can still learn a lot in losses like that.
Terry, can I just say one other thing that goes along with what JP was saying? And I guess it being more so about, I think this is more about Oregon than about Oregon State. And I would add one other sort of piece of evidence to that. Dan Lanning was asked last week if he still thinks about the 19 straight runs, and without hesitation said, yes, I think about it every day. And
I believe him.
Me too. And so I think that Lanning had, we thought that they were going to overlook this game and go, oh, it's Oregon State, like let's get to Big Ten play. No, I don't think Lanning let his guys sleep on this game.
We touched on this briefly last week with just sort of like what would Oregon do if they lost this game. Yeah. Since those 19 rounds, I don't think Lanning has, well, I think like the NFL comment is bullshit.
Yeah. There's a lot of shit that Dan Lanning has done that's bullshit.
I think the gregarious antics, whatever, but like, I don't think he's overlooked Oregon State football at all. And I think that's a scary thought, because, I mean, Chip was the same way. Like, Chip went into these games thinking that it was Ohio State for the national championship, and he was going to coach his ass off. And yeah, I think he knew what we wanted to do. And what this felt like, and I know there is the offensive line holes, I think, just really affected the team more than I think we wanted to believe. And we were kind of, after the San Diego State game, we were like, and Gundy hasn't even gotten in his bag yet, and we were treating this like preseason. And I think it's clear that Oregon was treating those first 2 games as preseason games too. Yeah. And one team was able to access another level of their bag, and another team wasn't. And that doesn't mean that that level doesn't exist for Oregon State, but the fact that we couldn't do anything offensively in the second half, nothing.
No. I think we got under 100 yards total in the second half.
Whether Oregon was trying to be cute and get to 2-0 without showing its hand much or not doesn't really matter to me. Like, Ashton Genty went for almost 200 yards, and Boise State should have won that football game. And we couldn't do a goddamn thing on offense in the second half. And I'm terrified of now playing a Purdue team that had the same shit done to them coming to Corvallis. I think we'll come out pissed off. I think they'll come out pissed off. We're playing at home. I think it's great that it's like, all right, now we get another Big Ten team to come and exercise a little bit of this shit and show that we're better than what we showed last Saturday. But I mean, I don't know if it would have been better for morale for Purdue to upset Notre Dame, get close against Notre Dame. I don't know what would have been more deflating from what I saw. Even I even think, you know, like getting close and losing by a Hail Mary or a last second field goal, either their end making it or our end missing it or whatever. I've never really felt worse after losing to Oregon.
Yeah.
Last year I was just mad because I knew what happened. And I could tell that Smith was on his way out and was lying through his teeth a little bit. I was mad. This time I was just like, fuck, like, this sounds shitty, but I'm like, what are we good at? What are we good at against like a P2
let's remember that this team is rebuilding. We lost literally
that's true.
10 of 11 offensive starters.
And an offensive coordinator, right? And a defensive coordinator.
And offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator and a head coach and pretty much the majority of our, and including those that maybe were returning are now injured or not playing anyways. So I think people have so great of expectations for a Trent Bray-led program.
But we all truly believed that we were going to win. The three of us, we were
right. Yeah,
the predictions.
Exactly. And I think
part theater, but part actual belief. The three of us all believed we were going to win.
Right. And that's way better than agreeing that a rebuilding Trent Bray program team had no chance. I would rather live in that optimism any day.
I don't think
where
that's
I
wrong.
say, but what I'm saying is we also have to remember that this stretches that far on the spectrum of we could be this or this. And Benny, you alluded to this as for the season that we could be what, like 4-7 or whatever, or
it's
10-1.
Such a crapshoot.
Like,
and the thing is I don't think the first 3 games have told us.
I think they told us much.
I agree. And
I mean,
because they can't, because this is an entirely new program.
And the
top to
teams that
bottom,
we've played are so different from each other, both in terms of how they play and on the spectrum of their talent. One thing that is crazy to me is we got blown out the way that we did, and we didn't have one turnover. I mean, that is unbelievable in one, right?
We also didn't have one stop.
We didn't have a single stop.
Right.
Not
That's
one.
why it's so crazy is that we still got beat the way
before.
we did, and we didn't turn the ball over. But that is, I mean, if you're looking for silver linings, that is
the silver lining I was looking for.
That is one. You haven't turned the ball over since the first quarter of the Idaho State game.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, again, the offense to me has shown really a lot more growth and progression than I think I would have expected them to have had.
The second half against San Diego State into the first half against Oregon is a lot of offense to build on.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But a lot of offensive maturity.
Prior to that,
I think that Giovanni McCoy...
I'm not ready to give up on Giovanni. I like Giovanni a lot.
Why would you?
No,
but
hell no.
He had a fine game.
I wouldn't say.
And he started to show even more with his legs.
On the team had a fine
but
game.
What do you mean?
But,
he was not finding the right reads. He was under pressure the whole game. Yeah. He didn't turn the ball over
the whole game.
Right.
He didn't play amazing, but he didn't play terribly.
And he made some moves with his legs.
That's the other thing is I want to see the reins taken off him a little bit. And I think it started happening in the Oregon game. The other thing that I don't want to see, and you guys know how much of a huge proponent I was for Jabari at the beginning of the season, and I still am. He is the future of this team. Don't put him in the third series of the game in a game like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I agree. I don't think that was – I understood why Smith & Co. did it last year. Mm-hmm. And you want to find a way for Jabari to get reps. But like you have to treat games as case-by-case basis. Mm-hmm. It's like they're not all created equally. They're not all the same script. You got like
not every third drive is
and with
throws a wrench into the flow.
Different offensive linemen, like clearly the chemistry between the quarterbacks and the offensive linemen was a problem.
Yes.
And when you just replace McCoy with Jabari there, like I was trying to explain that to the people I was watching the game with, and they were like, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. And I was like, well, it kind of worked last year. But
kind of. Not really.
No. So Giovanni's your starting quarterback. You know, you want Jabari to get reps, then fucking blow out Purdue and get him reps. And other than that, it's called practice.
Right.
100%.
Or start Jabari if that's what you want to do. But I think Giovanni, I've seen enough from Giovanni to ride with Giovanni. I like him a lot. But yeah, I mean, this is, apples to apples on what we consider fine or whatever. I don't think anyone should lose their job on account of what happened. But the offense, I mean, we could aim your ire at whoever. The second half, that was maybe the worst second half offensive performance I've seen Oregon State put on the field.
You thought?
So why? Wait. But why are we not opening up the playbook? I thought we were hiding it.
If you want to, you can aim your ire at whoever. I would, if I had to. I'm not ready to fire the guy, but I was Gundy was. If I have to assess blame and place blame in places, I would start with Gundy.
Well, it has to fall somewhere, and I think you always want to look up to who's running the show when it comes to that. Yeah,
but I will say we did open up the playbook.
We did not. It was 3rd and 7, and we're throwing 3-yard out.
Giovanni had 10 passes in the Idaho State game. He had 34. I'm not saying that the right plays.
They had to throw.
So we opened up the playbook.
He threw
kind of because who'd he throw to?
Opening it up, and every
who'd he throw to?
I don't know. I was in the
3-yard pass to Trent Walker.
He threw to Trent Walker every time.
There's no differentiation.
But that's not
there's no
his
imagination.
fault. That's not Trent's
I'm
fault.
not saying it's Trent's fault. I'm not saying it's Giovanni's fault. I'm not even saying it's all the way Gundy's fault. I'm saying collectively another level needs to be reached, and there was nothing.
Open it up
on display in that second half. There was nothing.
If it has not been opened up by Gundy, it needs to be opened up by Gundy. If it hasn't opened by Gundy, then the offense needs to execute on the opened up playbook, because there was no deep passes, no deep balls,
Nothing
not
worked.
even like really an attempt.
Nothing worked.
There was that flea flicker
And
that they got to. Yeah, it didn't work. They had pressure.
Yeah, which fine. I am good with the creativity. I'm happy with that.
The call.
Yeah. But like the fact that Caulfield had 1 reception, Jermaine Terry, no receptions. The tight ends are still not involved in this offense. Is it because we need them for extra protection?
It's an interesting thought.
Is it because there just isn't that rapport with the quarterbacks? It doesn't work with Gundy's offensive system. We have talented tight ends that right now, like, if we don't have a deep threat, we need more options to throw to. So somebody somewhere needs to figure out how to either spread the field with some more deep balls and a deep threat that isn't just like Giovanni throwing it as far as he can because he wants to show off his arm, but there's no receiver within 10 yards. Like, that doesn't make the defense sit on their heels a little bit more. They, if anything, go, that guy's never catching that ball because it's too deep for him. They don't have a deep threat, right? Like, even if the quarterback can get it there. But fine, then don't throw deep. Let's keep throwing 10-yard outs or crosses or whatever, posts. But, like, put more options out there for Vonnie to throw to then. And if they are out there, then, like, maybe Vonnie's just got to see these guys, or maybe these guys got to get open on their routes. I have not had a chance to look at what was going on, but there was like a clear indication that we had to claw back, and nothing changed. And if that's a personnel thing, okay, I'll accept that this year. And maybe through the rest of the year, I'd like to see some progress. And by next year, I'd like to see some major growth. But if it's not a personnel thing, it needs to change. It needs to fit.
That's an interesting thought about the tight ends being pulled back for more protection. I hadn't thought about that, but it does make sense. And like I said a million times, I didn't watch the TV broadcast, so it's tough for me to say. And I will preface this all with saying, like, I'm a huge proponent for Gundy, so I'm probably biased in that perspective. But I do think, I do think
no one's calling for anyone to be.
Yeah, I am
too. No,
but I do think that the takeaway from this game is, like, you got to let Giovanni cook. That was where our offense was most exciting, and I felt dangerous, was when he was able to move around a little.
We showed flashes of wanting to do this, but, like, go hurry up.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We're supposed to be moving quick.
I also feel like this offense struggles when they're unable to run the ball, and that became evident pretty quickly.
It did become evident, and if they didn't have the full services of Jam, like, that hurts too. But man, it was like, I haven't watched a game that felt that punchless basically since Smith's first year.
It was very motion-esque, going through the motion-esque.
It was crazy. It was like the biggest surprise that I had was the way that our defensive secondary played. That was the biggest surprise. That's supposed to be the strongest part of this team. And JP said, JP alluded to it, like, we got 0 stops. They did not punt the ball once. We did not get 1 turnover. We couldn't stop them. And Dylan Gabriel looked like he's going to win the Heisman Trophy that game. And our defense made him look that way. Yeah.
They're better than that.
And
they're better than that.
We are accustomed to seeing us almost. And the only shitty game of Caleb Williams' Heisman campaign was against us. It almost lost him the Heisman. And who was the former player that was the color guy against San Diego State? I feel bad that I can't remember this because I thought he was great on CBS Sports Network. I'll think of it later and put it in the note, but whatever. But he talked about having a conversation with Bray and Hayward before the game about, like, trying to get out of these early games unscathed and also not tipping your hand. And him expecting like, oh, as we see Oregon State go forward, there'll probably be some exotic blitz packages. And maybe Bray and Hayward thought these aren't nearly ready to use them in week 3 against Oregon. Another factor of, maybe playing them week 3. I don't want to blame that on anybody, but like games we've lost, games we've gotten blown out in, it was like at least we were throwing shit around and like trying to hit people. It was like
we weren't blitzing at all, were we?
Like prevent defense, no, and bringing rushing 4 who weren't doing anything, and rushing 4 almost the same way, in a way that like couldn't. I think Isaiah got upfield and made an incredible tackle in the first half. And I was like, yeah, there is a hit. Let's go. And then they got like 40 yards on the next play. And there was just like nothing.
I don't know.
We were thoroughly outcoached at every spot. And I know they have more talent at every position, but we did not understand the assignment. And I don't think it's unfair for Oregon State fans to be really upset about what they saw on the field. And thankfully, at least at this point, it's not like another Civil War where you have to wait a month for that bowl game or just wait until next season. You got Purdue coming to Corvallis on Saturday, and that's an opportunity to flex those muscles and get back to doing what you do. And that's why I brought up the Anderson era and the Riley era together intentionally, because we saw a lot of blowout. It took a lot of those Riley era teams getting punched in the mouth to figure it out.
Did.
And a lot of them did after getting punched in the mouth. And Bray played for Riley. He was on some of those teams and figured it out and had some great years. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a great showing this week.
Wouldn't either.
But I'm at the same time, I'm scared of the other side of that coin.
Yep.
I wasn't really feeling scared about this season until the final seconds were ticking off on Saturday, being just left with like, what am I supposed to take away from this guy?
I mean, I go back to the San Diego State game, right? San Diego State, I think, is a pretty good sort of measuring stick of what we'll see this season. I don't think Purdue is much better than San Diego State.
They might not even be. They might be worse.
In the San Diego State game, we won, I think 21-0 is a fair score. It just felt like we were in control of that game. A win never really seemed in doubt, even though it was 7-0 for the vast majority of that game. Against Idaho State, obviously, like we looked really good in the second half of that game. And that's why I think like this game is the odd one out. And I think we'll know a lot about this team after the Purdue game, right?
Yeah. I mean, look back at this game. It's the toilet bowl. Let's just flush that shit down. And maybe that's the new name of the game. In honor of, the
1983 0-0 game.
The worst played college football game of all time.
Yeah.
That way we can consistently remind Oregon fans that don't know because they just became fans 2 years ago where they came from and not play spoiled children. But I agree. I think this game will tell us a lot more, though maybe not, because we don't really know what Purdue truly
I mean, they got smoked by Notre Dame, that's for sure.
And Notre Dame obviously took a L that they shouldn't have either, but
who knows?
But who knows? Maybe this is their bounce back game.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the other thing that I think it's tough to say, but also true, is that I'm not as like anxious about Oregon State having a really good season this year because we do have our future somewhat figured out, right?
That's a good point. Very good point. I felt that relief almost immediately with upon hearing the news.
Like it would be the end of the world if we didn't have our shit figured out and we went 4 and whatever.
Yeah, if we didn't make a bowl game this year, I would be stressed to the highest degree for pretty much all of winter and spring.
I mean, and like here's the thing too is I don't care who you're playing. If you lose a game in the fashion that we did and play the way that we did in the second half, we're not going to win many games going forward. But I do think that there were a lot of things that played into that. I do expect us to bounce back against Purdue. I think while this coaching staff is still new and they're learning, like I think they'll have this team ready. But we'll learn a lot. That's for sure.
Should we visit the preseason predictions for?
Yeah, but before we closing out this game, I do want to shout out both quarterbacks. So after the game, I took both. I had the Mini Bebe and the Miss Mini Bebe with me at the game, and it was all hands on deck because it was just me and them and all of my friends, including Benny and super secret producer Skinner and Ted and Jenny and Funky Paul and Katie the Goat. But
Funky Paul, who was in
everybody
handcuffs at the time, and
everybody played a hand in making sure that my kids were having a good time, and everyone kept an eye on them, which was very helpful. So I'm very thankful. But after the game, though, we went down the field, and not as many players as you'd imagine came out of the locker room to the field. And so I do want to give some shout outs to those that did. We had very great engagement with Jabari Johnson. So Bari came out right away, met the kids, signed their shirts, signed Ev's jersey and Poppy's little cheerleading shirt. And then shortly after that, we ran into the McCoys and their great family, got to chat with them a bit. Vonnie, I mean, talk about maturity, man. Like, he introduced the kids and said they were wanting to meet him. He got down on his knee and asked them their names. Was very approachable, like was just a good dude. And so very, very proud and happy to have him on this program. And then as we were about to leave, Jaden Robinson came out and we kind of just like crossed paths and again stopped for autographs, photos, everything else. And these guys put on a good face after a tough game. And some of those guys had every right in the world to be extremely frustrated with the outcome and with maybe how they played, with how their position group played, whatever it might be. And they were still out there greeting fans and doing what Oregon State football does, which is making it a family atmosphere. So I want to give them, those three especially, a big shout and appreciate them kind of upholding, the traditions. That's for awesome. Oregon State football.
Hell yeah. Giovanni's family's awesome though, right? Yeah. They're a cool group.
They were great.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, tell the Miss Mini Bebe that my tummy is still filled with pepper, and it didn't feel very good that night.
Yeah. She had opened later. By the way, I hope this doesn't reach anyone higher up, but when we got home, I had found the top of the little twisty top of the pepper shaker with Ev that had gone MIA at McMiniman's on Monroe from our pepper shaker on our table. I thought it had been twisted off and rolled away, and it had maybe twisted off and rolled right into my kid's hands and made its way all the way home. But that enabled the Miss Mini Bebe to have a field day with the pepper shaker and force Uncle Benny, Benny,
it was worth it,
to eat like handfuls of
they were just going
peppercorns.
Eat it.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say no.
I mean, it was like wads of pepper.
Wow.
That you were eating. It reminded me of when we went to the steakhouse, whatever it's called, like the little bento plate, not bento, what was it? It's the hibachi place in Corvallis, Tokyo Steakhouse. And we just had no money, and all we did was just eat wasabi and challenge each other to how much wasabi, how large of a wasabi chunk we could eat at any time. Yeah. But thank you for entertaining them.
It felt like that was a perfect cap of that day. Just felt like we were eating pepper the whole day.
Yeah. Heartburn.
That'll get you to start forgetting about the game and thinking about your physical condition real quick.
True.
Preseason predictions for the Purdue game. Yours truly, I predicted Oregon State would beat Purdue 31-16. When it comes to bet or bail, I'm going to bet on that prediction.
32-16. Okay, so we're going to cover
31 to 16.
We're going to cover this
31-16. The spread is 4.5, I believe, right? As of now.
Wait, it opened at 5.5
now. The over under is 50.
A lot of early money came in on Purdue, which
why?
The disrespect. After they had like the same game.
We held our own against Notre Dame.
They had the same game, but worse. They were also at home against a probably way worse team. and couldn't do shit. That is what's scary about it. But no, I'm betting on Oregon State multiple touchdowns. I don't think Purdue is going to be good at all this year. And I think we bounce back. I think Gundy wants us to shut the fuck up, and they perform pretty well. So yeah, I'm betting on my 31-16 prediction. JP, your preseason prediction is for this game was an Oregon State win by the exact same margin, but a little bit different score. I would have the under. You would have the over at 35-20. Oregon State win. That in or bail-in? He's thinking hard.
I'm gonna bet it.
Bet it.
I'm gonna bet
Same
it.
score, same margin. Bet.
But it's a reluctant bet. Not that the outcome would change, but I'm not sure on the score.
Do you think it'd be
think it's gonna
lower
be
scoring than originally?
I think what's the over-unders? You said 50?
50.
Benny?
Yeah,
I think it's going to be half that.
Totally. So we win.
But I'm going to still bet my bet because I have all this.
Right. So we win
Confidence from nowhere.
We win 17-8 or something like that. 20-5.
Yeah.
We win 20-5.
Yeah.
That'd be dope. I'd take a 20-5 win. Benjamin Lawrence Sebastian Weehage, your preseason prediction would have the over and Oregon State covering with a final score of 31-21. Bet or bail, Benny.
31-21?
31-21.
I'm going to keep that. San Diego State scored 7 points, if I'm not mistaken. It was 10 points against Cal. It was 31-10. So San Diego State's offense is not exactly firing on all cylinders, which I don't think takes away the 21-0 shutout that we had, but I don't. Shutting out's hard in college football,
especially on the road.
But I don't think that they were shutting out a super high caliber offense. So I do think, and especially given last week, I think our defense maybe has some vulnerabilities that we weren't anticipating. And Purdue just had 66 points dropped on them. So I think the over-under of 50 is probably going to be an over. But I do think that Oregon State bounces back. I think we rely a ton on a running game. I think that we see Hankerson pop one off. I don't know. Is Jam hurt, or what was the sort of story behind why he never got the ball?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I haven't seen any news.
Yeah.
Coach's decision.
Interesting. Coach's decision is why he was taken out?
Well, that's just me inferring. With no news of injury, I don't have to disclose anything, but I haven't seen that he's not a participant in anything or doesn't plan to be.
Okay, Purdue gave up 362 rushing yards to Notre Dame. So they might have some vulnerabilities in their defense.
They probably do.
Well, I hope we use the run to set up some tight end throws, or tight end receptions.
I need a catch for Jermaine Terry in this game. I need water. Come on,
so bad.
I would love Jermaine Terry to get 10 targets in this game.
We need to showcase as many weapons as possible that we have on offense, and I don't care if we have to pretend that they're weapons. Make them look like they're weapons. Make the defense think. Make the defense fret them potentially burning them on a big play.
The defense
we need to show that.
Their quarterback had 100 yards rushing.
Hudson Card. He's an athlete.
No.
Hudson Card's a good.
Wait, for Notre Dame?
Purdue.
No, I was
Riley Leonard.
Riley Leonard. Yeah.
Yards rushing against Purdue.
Yes.
Yeah. The rushing lane should be open for Giovanni.
Yeah. So
that too. I want to see him continue to do that.
Right.
Come on, Vonnie.
I think it is. What did I have? 31-21?
You're 31-21.
Yeah, that sounds like a good scoreline.
Covering win.
So you'll take Oregon State, to cover and the over.
I think we all have that, right? To cover and have the over.
No, JP JP wants to. JP doesn't want to bail, but he wants the under, and I'm keeping mine just under
18-7.
I have So you are bailing. 18-7.
I'm bailing.
Wow.
18-7. I have 31-16. So we're both on Oregon State winning and covering, but the under. You're on Oregon State winning and covering.
I mean, both teams that we played almost got the over in their own right in the last game that we played them. Oregon had 49 and
banking on this stout defense.
Okay.
Bouncing back.
All right, that's fair.
I need something
I hope you're
to
right.
believe in.
I hope you're right. I hope that it is the under and that we held them to single digits. If we can do that,
or
that would make me feel so much better about
you
the
hope
season.
that it's the under and it's 49-0 Oregon State wins. That would be amazing. 7 touchdowns on 7 drives.
Yeah, that'd feel nice. Either way, like honestly, obviously, it matters who wins the game. But this game specifically, if we win this game,
This is important.
the Pac-12 is guaranteed to have a regular season winning record against the Big Ten.
Which would be great.
Also, fucking huge shout out Cougs.
Yeah.
What a game.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
What a game. Haven't seen very many UW things
talk-
around town.
We'll talk more about it on
Go
episode
Cougs.
1 of the Convivial Cougs podcast, which is
Yes.
just us with our Cougs.
We're branching out.
The convivial Cougs.
Alliterative Athletic Arts Association. We're expanding from Belligerent Beavs and adding Convivial Cougs. Or just cool Cougs.
Or
There's a lot to
conservative
do.
art
Part
Cougs.
of the
No.
oh, part of the belligerent
I said conservative
entertainment network,
arts.
the Ben.
Cougs.
Yeah, that's CAC, though.
It's
Belligerent
how New York
Entertainment
people say
Network, or
cock.
Ben.
Huh?
Mm-hmm. Do you guys
It's a
listen
great-
to the cock?
It's a great way to
Do you guys listen to the cock?
thank you, listener, for listening to the cock. I mean, this episode for almost 2 full hours. At this point, this has been the 158th episode of the Belligerent Beavs Podcast. You have been our loyal listeners who we just love and cherish so much. If you haven't already, please rate and review, like, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Spotify, we're up to 80 reviews on Spotify, which is great. So if you
Dang.
can throw us 5 stars on Spotify, that'd be great. If you could throw us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, that would also be great. Or 5 stars.
We
Anywhere.
need N64
We need N64.
on Apple,
Apple.
please.
Well, that's right.
And when you do it, you scream Nintendo 64.
It's fun.
It's so
It's
fun. Please
super
do it.
fun. So give us 5 stars on Apple and then yell Nintendo 64 when you do it. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel and then follow us wherever you can follow us. That's Bellig Beavs on Twitter. That's Belligerent Beavs everywhere else. Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. We're still on Facebook.
And our YouTube is reinstated.
Our YouTube is we didn't
Nice
even,
try,
you can't
Oregon.
keep
we
us
didn't even
down.
talk about that. This week was Civil War, Pac-12 realignment, and also we almost had to go to court in the case of Belligerent Beavs versus YouTube. I even messaged a friend of mine whose wife is a high-ranking YouTube executive to be like, hey, I don't think you should bother her with this, but also we got this notice from YouTube and it's total bullshit. Can you ask her about it if she has time? And another friend of mine who is a lawyer, I messaged him at one point. I was like, no, we got our channel back. And he was like, damn it. I was just finishing my opening statements for the court case of Belligerent Beavs versus YouTube.
Yeah,
So we were ready to go.
We got people.
Good try to get us kicked off YouTube.
Yeah.
We were ready. We stay lawyered
We'll kick
up.
you off.
Yeah.
Duck fans.
You won't even
We're
be
just
able to
gonna
watch
start
it.
Yeah.
Or anything on
Just
YouTube.
like Big Ten,
Yeah.
just like Big Ten Network in the state of Oregon. You're welcome, Oregon. We let you win. We wanted to let you win, just like we let you watch your own team in your own state for the first time this season.
That is true and funny.
Did you really think?
Congratulations.
Do you really think we were this bad at football? Come on, we didn't. Like Oregon hasn't gotten to watch their own team in this state for so long. Like, come on, let them have their day. They haven't had many days in the last few years.
No, they haven't.
It's been really hard.
Mm.
It's been really hard being a Duck fan. I don't feel bad for him though.
You suck.
Fuck him.
It does
Fuck
suck.
him. Anyway, this has been the 158th episode of the Belligerent Beavs Podcast. A fantastic voyage, as it always is. My name is Terry Horseman at Terry Horseman on Twitter, at Terrence Horseman on Instagram.com. I am joined, as I always am, by my beloved co-host and best friends from college, Benjamin Lawrence Sebastian Wehage, a.k.a. Benny with the good quaff, a.k.a. Benny Blastoff, a.k.a. Benny Bull Game, a.k.a. Benny Bedlam, because he's fucking crazy, folks. You can...
A.k.a. Benny with the big yawn.
Benny with the big yawn. That was
so
a
good.
big yawn. He's a big boy who's ready for big bed right now.
Yeah, I am.
You can follow him, Benny
Big
L,
Pepper.
1986, on all the social media channels. And our fearless leader
He
on the
loves
ones
him,
and twos.
loves it when you call him Big Pepper.
Keeping
love
our
when you
ship
call me
afloat
Big
is
Pepper.
JP Bertram. He's on Twitter at the Trill J. That's at the _Trill _J, because he's too trill to be real. And at JP Bertram on Instagram. Everything else, belligerentbeavs.com, belligerentbeavs.com/merch. Get some dope merch. We've got new Back the Six Pack merch. We've got not new Bray Area merch. We've got other just cool merch. We've got the dopest merch in the game besides Beaver State hats, which is also dope. So go to Beaver State hats, get yourself a new rope hat, a new Beavs print hat. They've got really dope shit as well. We love supporting other creators in this Oregon State creative space. Thank you for listening to this 158th episode. All hope is not lost. We're going to beat the Boilermakers' ass next week.
Yeah, beat the brakes off the Boilermakers.
And until... Are you guys going?
No. I can't.
Yeah,
Dude,
I can't actually do it.
Yeah.
I thought I could, but then I have
It happened.
other.
It happens. I was just curious.
My wife's
I could have asked
family, my wife's whole family has COVID, and I need one of them to watch the dogs, and I don't think that.
Shit.
Yeah.
Well, no
That's
matter how
very
many of your
funny.
relatives have COVID, no matter how many Purdue games you can't get Teresa for, always remember that you can't spell chop 'em without hope. So today and every day, chop 'em.
Chop 'em
Chop 'em.
Beavs back the six pack, baby.
and fuck the ducks.